Well, welcome everyone. I'm Carolyn Whiteman. I am talking to you this evening from the Florida Keys, and I'd like to introduce you. This is our monthly call. And if you see the terms OPA, OPA stands for Organic Products Associates, and it is the big family name of our organization that goes all the way up to the Loomises. Mary and Gary Loomis were my original mentors. I see some of the others of you on this screen that for whom they were also the original mentors. And the vision that they had when we started the business, this goes back into the 1970s. Their vision of the business was that it was going to grow beyond the point where it could be known as the Loomis organization. And Mary and Gary are still sending us their wonderful vibes from another area, another world. And Rob Loomis is the face of the organization. And I believe the OPA organization includes 10 master coordinators. So this is our monthly family call. We welcome all of you. You are part of our family, whether you're part of our family or not. So we are very happy to have you here. And what I'd like to begin with tonight is we're going to introduce our speaker, but let me begin with just a little bit of an overview about what it is, who we are, and what we're doing, and why I think this can be such a valuable evening for us. The way we're going to be set up is Marty is our presenter. I'm just trying to find my share screen. Hold on. Marty is our presenter, and Marty is going to go through the presentation which he's working with. And then we'll do this relatively for the first part of the call. Then following that, there will be a place for people to ask questions if they choose to. So we welcome you. This will be, we will begin with presentation style, but then after that, we will continue. So is there anything else that I have forgotten, Scott? Are we all set?
You are good to go.
Okay. So can you see my first slide?
Yes, I can.
All right. So I like to start with this wonderful example by Simon Sinek. And if you've never heard his 18-minute TED Talk, go into YouTube and look with, it starts with why, or the golden circle. And what we learn from him is that anytime we think we are presenting, we may think that we're focusing on what we do and how we do it and telling our story and all of that. But really the most important thing we can do is start with why. Why are we doing what we're doing? And so what I'd like to do is just do a quick reminder for us that the key to our motivation here, whether we call this a wellness project or an introduction, is really that our desire to offer options of wellness for the family in terms of health, wellness for the wallet in terms of business, and to be able to offer this kind of package to people.
Biggest issue in the country right now is that we're all getting sicker, fatter, more depressed, more infertile. Our eyes can gloss over the stats, but more than 25% of young adults having prediabetes, 20% of teens having fatty liver disease, 50% of teens now being overweight or obese, and then that going to close to 80% now overweight or obese for adults. This is the biggest issue in the country.
Yeah, but it's just so incredible, Callie, that it's not part of our political discourse. When you hear debates on the debate stage, when you hear the news reports about what's wrong with our country or what's going on, this is absent from the conversation. It's just so striking to me.
I don't think it's that complicated that we're getting sicker because of food. And I think the most appalling thing that's happening is not only is the medical system not ringing the alarm bell about food, the dean of Harvard Med School or the head of the NIH not standing before Congress saying, let's not give kids sugar. They're actually in bed with the food companies. Yeah. The most shocking thing I saw is the Heritage Foundation taking money from Coca-Cola to say it's immoral and against conservative principles to not give poor kids Coke.
That's the kind of thing that is an introduction for us. So let me hold on a second. Sorry. Go back here. So what if we were able to depend on on our medical community and our pharmaceuticals when we were sick. But what if we could be even better educated to do all we can do to stay well and to not need them to fix it? And that's really what our mission is. There is no competition with the wonderful medical professionals that we have. But our job, as we see, a healthy person has 1,000 wishes, but a sick person has only one wish. And our job is to do what we can to validate all of the healthy times that we possibly can. And for this, I like to use this little chart and draw this line down the middle of the page. Then on the right side is our sick care. That's our medical professions, that's professionals, that's our pharmaceuticals, that's the kind of side effects. There are always going to be side effects with things like that. And they're designed to have targeted results. This is where we wait until we get sick and we try to fix it. Where we choose to be, and our focus that we're going to spend our evening with tonight is, this needs to be fixed. Our focus is on prevention. Our focus is on the family habits, the food and the lifestyle, the side benefits that we can offer for long-term sustained results. So our focus is on the personal responsibility and the business of preventive health care. And so that's what our objective is. And as we look at that, I get to introduce Ben, our wonderful colleague. And one of the things I'd like to say is that we're in a time, as we look at what's going on around us in the world, there are several things that are really noticeable. One of them is that people are looking more and more to find ways to stay healthy. The second thing is they're going to be more and more in need of finding ways to create a small amount of additional income or even more that can be income that can help to support their using their own products. In addition to that, we certainly want to be able to be in a position to create a little bit of extra income for people. We call that wellness for the wallet. And then the fourth thing that I think is represented by all of us on the screen and as we listen to this is the shared commitment of community. And that is that we together are not necessarily in each other's business organizations. We are all sharing a common commitment to making the world better in terms of our health and our fitness and all the rest of these things. So with that in mind, I would like to introduce Marty Frederick. Marty has been a friend over decades as colleagues in the business. We've had the opportunity to work together even more closely in this past couple of years. And one of the beauties of our business is being able to share the wealth of ideas that come from other people. So I want to just bring Marty in, and Marty, I'm going to let you introduce the project that we're sharing together and anything that I can contribute. So I will turn this over to you, and please welcome Master Coordinator Marty Frederick.
Okay. Let's make sure I get this up right. Scott's there to help me.
You got it.
Full slide, Scott?
Yes, sir. Looks good.
Awesome. Very good. Well, Carolyn, thank you. And it's always a privilege to be able to share with you guys on OPA. It's just such a neat organization. I just love all you guys. I want to thank you for coming because I know everybody's got time investments in that, and that could be somewhere else and that. So taking your time to come here is, as always, I feel very honored that you're here with us. The reason I put this slide presentation together, I had a chance to meet Dr. Shackley. And one of the things I heard from him is that the body has the inherent wisdom to heal itself, provided it has the materials. And when you look at this slide, Love Your Life, we're challenged by a lot of things, internally, externally, family, environment, and all that. And I love this business because no matter what we do with this, we're benefiting somebody in some form in that. And the first thing about this is that we want to share a pathway, if you will, for people to have better health and healthy longevity. I don't think any of us want to have challenges as we get older. Especially we're hearing more and more about dementia and Alzheimer's occurring in it. And a lot of it has to do with what's going on in our diet and our environment and that. The other thing is when someone's introduced to a meeting like this, they may have the feeling like they're so used to so many other things out there that people are invited to, is they're going to be sold something. And just to address that, if any of you have a Sam's or a Costco membership, you get to buy there at a discount. And when you go there, if you need help, there might be somebody there to point you in the right direction. So I see us really as guides to help people down that path towards better health and that. And with that, we can make a difference. And of sorts, this becomes the mission, because when you impact someone's life, you never know who that's going to be. But I have a stack full of thank yous from people over the years because somehow Shaklee has impacted their life. And that's one of the privileges of being part of the Shaklee community. And really, it's a culture, it's a community of like-minded people in that. So like attracts like, and if you're into wellness and health and feeling better and helping others do the same, it becomes a real opportunity to do that through this vehicle. Now, living younger longer is a key, and I like to look at it as a gift. Not only a gift for us, but a gift for other people. And things are going on in our life when, and Dr. Hyman talked about what's going on in our environment and our health and that. And when I saw this slide here, it just came up at the end of July. And I heard that 38 million Americans have diabetes. That's 10% of the population. I mean, that's amazing. In 1960, only 3% were overweight or obese. Today, 2024, 70%, over 70%. You heard Dr. Mann talk about that. Well, what's the number one cause to ailments, illnesses, and diseases in that? Well, it has a direct correlation with our weight. I heard another statistic that said if you drink 1 can of soda a day, at the end of the month, you will have added 4 pounds of sugar to your body. Now, you're getting sugar from all different forms, box, can, package, whether it's sodas or whatever. And so it's no wonder that we rank the lowest in the world. We have the best medicine, but we rank lowest in the world in that. So being part of this as a community to help other people and bring it, that's how I see this as a gift. When I look at this slide from Dr. Shaklee, it says you must share your life with others. For the more you share with others, the more valuable your share will become. And I think we all have in our subconscious thinking that we want to leave some form of a legacy. And I think when you have a vehicle like this with Shaklee and a community like this is what you're going to do. You're going to impact people's lives in that. So I call it a gift because Shaklee is built on a concept of in harmony with nature. And when you think about that concept, every product in Shaklee's concept of in harmony with nature, Dr. Shaklee, I heard him say that it must benefit a cell. It must not harm a cell. It must be in harmony with nature. So that gift, because of that philosophy in Shaklee, no matter what we share, we're going to impact people's life on a positive note. And that's one of the gifts we're given in this business. Now, if you haven't met Dr. Shaklee, I want to give you a little feel for who he is. So this is a short video, so we'll take a look.
When Dr. Forrest Shaklee was born, no one could have guessed that he would become such an extraordinary man. An early childhood illness prompted his parents to move the family to the fertile farm country of northern Iowa. where in fresh air and sunlight, young Forrest could grow healthy and strong. It was there he began his lifelong exploration of the connection between nature and good health.
Shackley's philosophy, Shackley's dream, began when I was a very young fellow. I walked out into the fields and climbed up onto a stack of hay, lying there flat on my back, dreaming. I began to realize that I too was a product of nature, and being a product of nature, it behooved me to cooperate with nature.
When it was time to choose a career, Forrest became a chiropractor and began to experiment with ways to provide better nutrition for his patients. The result was one of the world's first nutritional supplements.
And we sold our first food supplement the first day of July 1915. We called it Vitamin Mineral.
In the early days of aviation, he learned to pilot a plane so he could visit patients all over the state of Iowa. He met many of the inventive Americans who were changing life forever. Henry Ford and Thomas Edison were frequent correspondents. Always the inventor, Dr. Shackley outfitted one of his clinic vans with bunks, running water, and an ice chest, and one of his cross-country travels took him to the West Coast. He was so inspired by the year-round growing climate that he decided to move his practice to Oakland, California. There, he continued his research with nutritional supplements. In 1956, at age 62, when most people think of retirement, he put it all together in the greatest adventure of his life. He started the Shackley Products Company with just one product, a commitment to harmony with nature, and a business plan that relied on people reaching out to help other people.
The first thing we want you to remember, the very first thing you must remember, is your service to humanity.
With innovation after innovation, Shackley offered life-changing products to improve the health of people and the planet. Vita-League, biodegradable non-toxic basic H, the first instant protein, phosphate-free basic L and basic D, the first of their kinds. Those first small steps, a young boy wandering through a field, were just the beginning. Dr. Shackley's early research has led to revolutionary products like Vivix, Omega Guard, and Life Plan. And Dr. Shackley's ideas have taken root all around the world, improving the lives of people beyond borders and oceans.
You say you can't hear the voice of nature, but you can. You say you can't talk to nature, but you can. Let's get close to nature.
Dr. Shackley once dreamed that people could improve their lives by helping others and by living in harmony with nature. Today, the power of that one man's dream endures.
The uniqueness of this company is beyond almost our comprehension. And if you really want to understand, you just got to see the tip of the iceberg of what this man launched and created an entire industry. And if you look at or read his book, Reflections on a Philosophy, and then you read Thoughtsmanship that he's written, you'll come to understand what this company is and why these products are unique to the world. And if you can think about how you would feel if you shared this with somebody and how it might impact their lives, and they came back and thanked you for that, what it could mean to you and the generations you could share and pass this on with. This happened for me, and I can only give you an anecdotal story. My father, up in the upper left-hand corner, was a frame mechanic. He raced cars and built engines and all that. And I grew up with that, motorcycles and all that. And he retired to Albuquerque, New Mexico, moving from Illinois. And he took over a small shop. And one day, walking out of the office, he walked down the staircase into the pit area where the racks were at. And these racks were thick steel. And that staircase broke away and it threw him out and he hit the corner of that rack with his head. And if you take your fist and you make a fist out of it, that's about the size of the hole in his head. And it knocked the bone fragments into his brain and it made him manic depressive, psychotic, and abnormal brain waves, according to the neurosurgeon. And he put him on 4 drugs. One of them was Dilantin for seizure. And they said that his brain waves would never improve. And over the next 2 years, every quarter he had to go in to test for those brain waves because they adjusted the meds each time, because each time it worsened. Christmas 1971, I came out to visit the parents and I got out of the car. My dad came out to greet me and I saw him. He took his hat off. He had a hard hat on that he had to wear all the time. And I saw that indent in his head and I had to go lay on the couch. And after I collected myself, I told my mom to get the paperwork together. I didn't think he was going to be around much longer. We left after the holidays. My mother was a bookkeeper for an auto dealership. She went back to work. She came out in the coffee shop. No one else is in there, but in walks this lady with this walker. Comes right over to my mom. They sit down. Subject, my dad comes up. The lady goes, you know, I've been a polio victim most of my life. My husband's had to do most everything for me, but it's been a year, but I can get around and drive my car and use this walker now. And I don't know if this stuff will help him, but it's guaranteed. And if you'll change brands, and the neurosurgeon had prescribed a multivitamin for my dad, and my dad had hardened arteries in his early 40s, and a doc prescribed lecithin, which only came in the granulated form. Now, the instant protein had lecithin in it and took the Vitalia, and that's what you gave my dad. That's what he started with. 3 months, March 1972, they go in for the exam. No change in the numbers. Doctor takes my mother off to the side and says, lady, what are you doing? Based on these numbers, you know, I'm really concerned because when people change like this, they're getting, you've heard of them where they start to rally, they're getting ready to check out. And that's what she left with. But she continued to give him the nutrition. And we ruled out the psychological aspect because with these brain waves, he was on Dilantin for seizures. He couldn't drive and he couldn't work. So his day was basically in front of the TV or walking out in the yard. And whatever my mother gave him, he ate. So she just swapped out what he was taking and gave him the shackling. June 1972, goes in for the exam. The doctor, one, is surprised that he shows up. Secondly, after the exam, physically grabs my mother by the arm, takes her in his office, closes the door behind him, and says, lady, what are you doing? And she goes, well, I'm doing what you told me. The only thing is I'm taking this Shakely stuff and giving it to him. And he does one of these. He goes, oh my God, I've never seen this. 17-year practice. He was rated number 4 in the nation at that time, neurosurgeon. He says, I'm betting, based on his change, that he should be off his meds in about 12 months. I get a call in 60 days, Dad's off the meds. You got to come out, you got to come out, you got to come out and see Dad, and you have to go to a meeting. So we get there 24 hours later, there's a meeting. Now, the lady I was married to at the time would not go, but I love my mom. She wanted me to see it, so I went. I figured I'll clean my wallet out in the back of the room. What I could hear is that I could buy it at a discount and didn't have to sell it. It was guaranteed. So I came home, saved the marriage. I used the products, told nobody. 4 months later, and we all have friends like this teacher comes up to me and he goes, Marty, what are you doing? I go, why? He says, your personality's changed. I even like you now. I told him, I'm taking this stuff. He never asked me what it was. He says, if it works for you, get it for me. So I called my mom. She didn't know how to get it. She says, call the polio victim. I called that lady. She didn't know how to get it. She says, call the guy I get it from. He helped me get this teacher started. 4 months later, I get this envelope in the mail. It's a check. Now, the check wasn't a lot, but I was a teacher working on a master's. I was qualified for food stamps, and I had duct tape on my car. So I was going to teach college as soon as I finished the degree, which was going to be that particular June. And what happened is that I was interviewing to teach college. I had 3 job offers. They offered me half as much what I was making in the public school system. That wasn't good. So then I said, okay, I'm going to look at corporate life. Corporate life offered me, and Ray knows all about this. They offered me a good job, but it was like 90% travel. So it was either no life or no money. So then I looked, well, I'll have my own business. I was very career disturbed because the administration was starting to change. And I just needed to move on from what they were doing. And so McDonald's was hot back then, and they had one of the first franchise shows in Chicago. So I ran down to the show and I ran right to the McDonald's booth. And it was $500,000 up front and $500,000 in a bank. And I had $5 in my pocket, duct tape on my car, and I was qualified for food stamps with a master's degree. So I ran up and down the aisle. I figured, well, there's got to be something here. And there was about 200 booths. By the time I got to the last booth, I figured out that I was going to end up giving them money, paying to buy myself a job that I would have to work 24/7 and hire and fire kids. So I came home very, very discouraged, crawled in bed that night, kicked something under the bed. I pull it out, and back in that day, we used to have an old suitcase. Ed and Helen remember that. It was an old green suitcase, and that used to have the manual in there, and I never opened the thing. So this time I peeled off what was covering the manual, I opened it up. In the middle, I saw you get a car. I said, car, duct tape. What do I need to do? So I flipped through the book, and I saw that Dr. Shackley sat around a table with 6 people and told the story. That's sort of what I'm telling you tonight. And that was basically his dream and vision. So time goes on. I work a year. Okay. My goal was to equal my teaching income. In 90 days, when I committed to do this, we had doubled the teaching income. So I worked to go to a meeting that Dr. Shackley was at. And I worked my way up through thousands of people. And I got next to him and I told him the story of my dad. And he put his arm around me. He said, son, it's not Shackley, it's nature. I knew right then and there I planted my flag to build this business around this company because it could change people's lives. So with that, the 2 boys on the right, you see, when I married Lynn, she had a 16-year-old daughter. And as she grew up, she was non-compliant. Kids don't take the vitamins. I was finding vitamins in the plants and that and different things, and I get this call. She's 32 years old. She's crying on the phone. I go, what's the matter, hon? She says, I'm at the doctor's office. They tell me I have cervical cancer. I have to go to a hospital immediately. I says, well, come home. We can talk. We can always go to the hospital. And she was a CNA. She was a nanny. She loved kids. The only thing she really wanted was get married and have children. That was her dream and that. And here she has this problem. So we changed her diet. I said, will you do what I recommend? She says, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. She followed it. And 6 months later was the soonest that they would allow her to have another test, and no cancer. And today we have these 2 grandboys. The big one now is in the Air Force. He's 19, and the other one's driving his car. He's wrestling. He's 16. And that I wouldn't have those if it wasn't for Shackley. And because of meeting Lynn, I didn't ever expect to have children. But yet here we have Matthew. Now Matthew has 3 girls, 4, 6, and 10. That wouldn't have happened had it not been the community of Shackley gave me something that is so precious that I would never, ever put Shackley. So when I looked at this business, I didn't know anything about it. There was nothing beyond east of the Mississippi, really. And there weren't tapes back then or any of that stuff. All I had was what I saw out there in Albuquerque, where they put the products on the table and they talked about each one and they spilled it on the floor or whatever they did. So I duplicated that. And the first thing I did is I called a buddy of mine. I says, Dick, send me a check. He goes, why? I says, we're going into business. Okay, how much is it? So he wrote me a check. He sent it to me. I got him started. Now, you never know whose life you're going to impact. And this young man, he worked for the airlines, and he was in all that pollution at the airport constantly. So he started taking lots of vitamin E and all the nutrition and everything. But when he was a child, he had scarlet fever, and it damaged his valve in his heart. So he wasn't able to do sports and activities, but he grew up and he made it through. And at 65, he had a problem. He goes in to the doctor. Doctor says your valve's failed. We have to replace it. So, okay, so they do the surgery. He gets out of surgery, goes home. About 48 hours later, he's got a problem. He calls the doctor. Doctor says, get in here immediately. Does the test and everything, says it's all infected. Well, what do we do? Well, if I send you home in 24 to 48 hours, you're dead. He says, so, well, I guess we got to do surgery. He says, well, there's a problem. If we do surgery on a scale of 1 to 10 that you're dead on the table, right now you're about 11. So he looks at his wife and he goes, well, go home. It's over. Stay here. Flip the coin. So he says, go ahead. And they do the surgery. He wakes up. There's about 8 or 9 doctors in the room. They're looking around. They're talking. His doctor comes up to him, says, my God, son. He says, we went in there. We did the valve. We got you all good. You got the heart and the veins of a 20-year-old. That was 12 years ago. He's never had a reoccurrence. Had I not shared that Shackley with him, I would have lost a friend that I grew up from age 5, my best friend. So that's a gift. Now, when we look at Dr. Shackley and his philosophy on harmony and nature, and you look at this list of all these products here, imagine if you went to the store and you walked up and you're doing your shopping and that, how many of the products that are on this list could you absolutely 100% verifiably say would be 100% safe for your health, 100% safe for the environment? I mean, what, besides that many? Zero? That's what we're sharing with people, the opportunity to really impact not only their lives, but other people's lives and our environment. Now, when Dr. Shackley created something, he just didn't create it out of the whimmy-nimmy to make money. He did it because he had a mission in mind, because he wanted to do good. He wanted to do something to prevent, not something to fix. And back in the day when medicine was evolved, they were all trying to cure the problem after the fact. But he had this philosophy and his thinking raised the child with a killing disease that he overcame. He wanted to pursue a pathway that he could try to help prevent. And he learned about a gentleman named B.J. Palmer up in St. Louis. And he said, okay, this guy's working on the body internally, externally, and that. I want to go learn about that. So he became one of the top physicians in the chiropractic world in the U.S., became the first flying doctor, and a lot of the things that you saw in the video, and that's our heritage. And all that was based on when he launched his practice. He started creating and using what he was raised with, and he put it in a bottle, and he started giving it to his patients. There was so much success in people wanting what he had to offer. He learned how to become the first flying doctor in the Midwest, and he traveled around to reach out. Then, when his hospital and that it burnt down, he decided to take his family to California, as he saw, so that he could have available nature's gifts, for he could make his products for us going forward in that. So it's very, very unique future. But what's happened since then? I'm going to give you a brief video just to watch here to give you a little feel.
Thank you very much. And we hope that the following message will be of sufficient importance for you to really take home and digest. The birthplace of success. The question is always put to us: why are Shacklet products so outstanding? The answer that I can give: they are outstanding because the creator of these products, nature,
Lost the audio, Marty.
You should be listening to what I have to say today.
Well, over the course of time, there was 25 greatest adventures in the world. Shackley borrowed 7 of those. They're true. I've met every one of those people. So I can share with you that this is real. This whole concept of in harmony with nature, it's deeper than what we understand. We look at a piece of fruit or something like that, we say, yeah, it's part of nature and all that. But imagine going to the store. If you had your own store, would you walk across the street and buy other products that you need every day from the competitor across the street when you didn't know if they were in harmony with nature? I mean, why not buy from your own store? So it's really something important. And then sharing it with other people. If you're going to give it to your child, like my 4-year-old, which is grandchild, which is getting it, and the 10-year-old's getting it, and the 20-year-old's getting it, and that I don't ever have to worry about any one of these products for their life. And what's really cool is that the products that we offer embrace every aspect in our life that we need that's going to move us on the path toward this healthy longevity. That's the goal. Now, anybody here ever have any stress? You ever been like the cat on the top? Well, I think the whole goal here tonight is to help arm you with a philosophy and a pathway so that we can live a life like the bottom cat. And I've enjoyed that. My wife and I are 93 combined years without a medication. And I attribute that to a lot of things, but foundationally, it's because of the nutrition. Now, I had the opportunity to have lunch with Dr. Scala. Dr. Scala took over after Dr. Shackley retired. And I asked him, they talk about the Shackley difference, but can you explain it to me? And he says, well, imagine the best orange tree in the world that you could find, organic, everything's perfect about this tree. And I were to pull oranges and fill up a bushel. In that bushel, if I measured every orange, it would vary between 10 and 400% nutritionally. What does Shackley want? They want the 400%. Now, in the lifestyle, if we try to eat organic, which is sometimes economically challenged for a lot of people, but also we have a life. We're on the run. You ever miss a meal? Do you ever eat for taste? Do you ever eat out of convenience? I don't know anybody who hasn't done that. But foundationally, what are we getting? Are we getting that 400% consistently in our diet? And is that 400% we know is protected so that it's performing the way it should perform? Shackley is committed to providing us with the most perfect balanced things in harmony with nature that contain all the knowns and the unknowns. And that's where research comes in. And Shackley leads the world in that. Now, Dr. Shackley laid the groundwork. We don't have 7 billion in commissions. We have over 10 billion. So the opportunity to help other people is extremely powerful if you embrace this business. And what's really cool about it, when I was teaching, working on a degree, I didn't have to give up my economic foundation to build something and help other people. I could work my way into it. That was a gift for me. But along comes this young man named Roger Barnett. He spent $20 million in 5 years looking for a company that he could do well and do good in. And he told us, he says, any entrepreneur that's looking for a business, they're looking for something that has a command or a high strength in at least one trend. And he found our industry. And it was doing really good in 1 or 2 key trends. But then he found a company called Shaklee, and he knocked on that door. And what he loved about Shaklee was the philosophy, was in harmony with nature, was the heritage. And we played a role in 5 major trends. And he knocked on that door, and it took a year, but he wrote a personal check for the company. With that, we've experienced double-digit growth, multiple years. Now, I gave you a bunch of anecdotal stories, and we built a business that became in the number 2 in the Fortune 500 on word of mouth, anecdotal stories. But Roger says, because of that research and science, I want it proven. I want it to be seen and recognized and appreciated in the pharmaceutical and medical community. So he charged his medical staff and his corporate staff to go out and find him somebody that could do a clinical on our products. And he found a lady named Gladys Black, which happened to be down the street from corporate headquarters in Pleasanton at the time. And her name was Gladys Black. I think I said that. But anyway, she looks at Roger. She says, you know, Roger, if you turn this over to me, good or bad, it's going to get published. So she does the study, and then in their meeting, when she brings back the evidence and she presents this chart to him, these are the 9 biomarkers that fundamentally are killers. And if you look at the incidence of diabetes in the upper left-hand corner, you'll notice the green bar. That's the Shaklee group. I happen to be one of those people in that group. And the blue bar are people who took 0 supplements. And the red bar are people who took other brands. And what Gladys said is, you know, it's like 70% more likely to incur the disease of people who don't take Shaklee. But what was really interesting, she was totally surprised, because people have a feeling that I ought to take some supplements, and they go out and take it. They don't know what they're buying. And remember that thing of in harmony with nature, must benefit self, not harm itself? The red bar, look at that. That's 90% more likely to incur the disease. That's over people who didn't take anything. So Shaklee outperforms every demographic that you could think of. But that wasn't good enough. That's over a 20-year view of what we've done nutritionally. 10 years later, Roger says, you know, I want to see how we're doing. So he charges the University of Tufts to do a follow-up study, landmark 2, if you will. And if you look at the pathways, us in the master group, we said, you know, we take lots of supplements. Let's have a comparison of people taking multiple supplements. So now we got a 4th demographic there. No supplements, multi-targeted, and multiple supplements. That dotted line represents crossing over into the area of medical intervention or medical need. Symptoms and illness and diseases are starting to occur. And look where it's occurring. It's in the 45 to 50-year bracket. Look at the Shaklee group. In the Shaklee group, average age was 64 and a half in that. What Gladys said was very interesting. She says 19-year-olds were on as many as 7 meds during the course of the year. 65-year-olds were on as many as 19. The Shaklee group was on 0.06. And I told you about my wife and I. So we have something that is significant. It's more than significant. It's powerful. So I wanted to help people get started in something. I said, we just got to get back to simple. Keep it simple and help people. What helped my dad? And what it was protein and the multivitamin. And we had Herblex back then, but through science, we've learned that the colon is critical in our health. And I'll explain a little bit more about that. So we have a pearl here. And what's interesting is that our learning has evolved that 70% of our immune function occurs in the colon. So it's critical that we have this pearl. 50% of all cancers occur in the colon. So it's critical that we have this pearl, okay? But it's more than that. Protein, Dr. Shaklee said, protein is the key to life. It comes from the Greek word proteus, which means to come first. Every time you breathe, you lose millions of cells. Your body instantly wants to replace those. We know in our skin, we have 3 layers of skin. It turns over every 27 days. Well, you got skin all over inside and outside your body. It's always changing over. That's why we're losing those cells. The healthiest cell is going to have the healthiest nutrition available to it. And that comes from protein, the key to life. It's the only thing that builds a cell. So if you look at the rat on the left, they're getting real food, eggs. Look at man's concoction on the right, egg beaters. So we definitely, that's sort of like the red line on that graph I showed you. So we want to have those in our diet. Now I have a niece. She had breast cancer and lymphoma. I mean, it was scary. I'll tell you, it was scary. We got her started on a nutrition right away. The only thing I knew to do, protein, Vital E, and Herblax, and that's what we had back then. It's 22 years. She's never had a reoccurrence. Average reoccurrence on people with breast cancer is about 5 years. I mean, it's really interesting. If you look at the statement down here, among women with breast cancer, soy food consumption was significantly associated with decreased risk of death and occurrence. So protein is critical in the prevention and rehabbing of cells in that, building cells. So why a multivitamin? Well, I can buy the vitamin at the grocery store. I always ask about value, okay? If you're going to spend $1, do you want 10 cents worth, 20 cents worth, 30 cents worth, or 100 cents worth? Or everyone wants 100 cents worth. Well, how do you know you're getting that? Well, here's Shackley. We look at number one here. American Medical Association, Harvard School of Public Health, Berkeley Wellness Letter, August 2005. Every human being, regardless of age or health, needs to take a multivitamin. Everyone. That's you and me. Everybody. Every child, every adult, every senior, we need a multivitamin daily. Then we go to number two, clinical proof here. You know, osteoporosis is one of the most challenging things, especially in females. But did you know that it kills more men than women? I didn't know that. I started doing some research. I mean, I thought, wow, that was really interesting. Vitalea has less calcium in it than a calcium-rich supplement in a professionally paired diet, but it increased bone density over the 3 to 4 times. Why is that? Not potency, in harmony with nature. Every nutrient, known and unknown, simultaneously available to the cell. That's the clinical difference. That's the Shackley difference at work right there. Prenatal, before we had prenatal stuff that we share today in our meology, here we had Vitalea. Dr. Rodriguez had the healthiest patient population in Virginia at the time. When Lynn got pregnant with Matthew, 1988, and gave birth to him, she was the oldest patient and one of the top pediatricians in our city. And when he was born, she had a C-section. He was a 10 on the APGAR scale. And she was the only one in her population that didn't have any of the prediabetes that pregnant women experience now. Why? Because Lynn said I made her take all this stuff. So every day. So then we have Roger goes, Landmark say, well, how good is the Vitalea? Who needs that? He did a clinical. He showed, and he says, if every human being took 2 Vitalea a day, we would no longer have malnutrition as a problem. Who can say that? He said that on stage in front of 10,000 people, went public nationally and internationally. I mean, that's amazing. And then in 2022, here Forbes makes a publication about Shackley. They write, Shackley is the most clinically proven wellness company in the world. So when you're giving something to your body, you want to have confidence that it's going to work and it's going to help you and everybody that you touch. But to get the nutrients to the cells, we have to go through the digestive system. And that digestive system begins in that colon. And when you look at the colon up in the upper left, that's a healthy, perfect colon. The colon on the right is from a female that had what she claimed 3 regular movements every day. She felt she was healthy. Look at the debris in the cross section in that colon. Dr. Shackley was an autopsy surgeon. He said he could take a pencil and he couldn't get it through some of these autopsies in these colons. The average American carries 15 to 30 pounds contaminated waste in their colon. So how do we break that up? Well, through the science that Roger invested in, we've come up with a pearl the size of a BB that will make it all the way through all that junk in that colon and those constricted areas, and then to get down to the lower part of the colon where the blockage is really occurring and start working and all that and getting rid of that dead material, get it out of the system, because the nutrients have to be broke down in the colon, go through the colon walls, get to the blood so it can be delivered to the cell. And when we have the healthy colon, where immune function occurs and a lot of the diseases occur, we start building better health. But people go, does it really work? I knew the mother of this child. This kid was diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, and you can see on the left his writing, and he'd been taking nutrition only 3 days, okay? But 2 days later, look at that. Goes from -7 to -4, and his writing improves. 7 days, within 7 days, he's back to normal. Here we have a healthy child, almost no symptoms of the ADD, ADHD, okay? You know, the body needs every nutrient, known and unknown, simultaneously. That's why all the Shaklee products are in harmony with nature. They deliver to the cell what the body needs. Dr. Shaklee says, how much do you take? Well, you flood the system, make it like a smorgasbord, and the body can pick and choose what it needs at the time it needs it. But we have other things that impact our health. In our home, we have things going on that are really harmful to our health. We have to watch what we're eating. 90% of all poison exposures occur in the home. 70% of illnesses and disease and even deaths in females and children have a direct correlation to what's going on in the products we have in our home. So it's critical that we look at that. So what's the answer to that? Well, understanding is the key to the answer. You ever walk up and down the aisle of the grocery store and you smell all those fragrances? Well, those fragrances smell like flowers lots of times. People go, oh, I like the smell. They think the smell makes it clean. Here's pure raw Clorox opened up in the back of a classroom. Look at the writing in the middle of this paragraph. They were doing this in class. Look how it impacted the brain. Alzheimer's, mental diseases, depression, anxiety, all these things are impacted by these chemicals on our body and that. And when he closed the bottle and walked out of the room, the kid's writing started coming back. So we need to get rid of that. Now, Roger, when he bought the company and he started doing his research, got his back, he had a 4-year-old son and they had to run him to the emergency room. The child, under the doctor said it had asthma, allergies, he thought. And Sloan was a research journalist. She went back 4 generations, both sides, could not find any incidents of that occurring in their family. And someone said, well, you got checked, they're using the cleaner. She changed over the cleaners. That kid is 22-year-old now. I don't think he's ever had a reoccurrence. Okay. She boxed it in a box, little over $100, replaces $3,400 worth of products. And now you're no longer part of the problem. Look at all the landfill stuff that you're not part of being, which is really cool. Okay. Now, everything you put on your skin's like a sponge. It absorbs it. I'm sure you all heard about if you put garlic in the heel of your shoe, you're going to taste it. I don't know how long it takes, 15, 20 minutes. I've heard one lady say, I put it in my hand and I could taste it in about 10 minutes and that. So just as an example, toxins in these products are killing us. I don't know anybody that's deficient in formaldehyde or parabens or lead or mercury and that. Why do we need that in our products? We don't. Roger says, hey, I got to get rid of this stuff. It's terrible. I don't want any of those contaminants in any of our products and that. So he charged his staff to build and we had a wonderful skincare line, did amazing things in that. But here we got a skincare line that 100% of the people in the clinical, they had improvement in their skin, measurable improvement. 2/3 of them in the clinical actually had their skin measured that it moved into a younger decade. Can you imagine that? I know Lynn's skin is really, really nice and seems to be remaining like that. I use that stuff. It's pretty wild every day. This was Nancy Brown. She was 74 at the time. You can see the before. You can see 8 weeks later. So that's just an example of the product's working. Now, we have this product called Vivix, and it has a substance in it called resveratrol that Dr. David Sinclair from Harvard University discovered, and he brought it to Roger. And this is just an example of the Shackley difference. Roger says, well, we don't do any panacea stuff. It has to benefit a human cell, it has to help the body, it has to have value. So he charges his scientific staff to research, and all the claims that Dr. Sinclair said would happen as far as increasing the energy in the mitochondria worked. So they needed a source. So they started looking for raw material source, and they found this thing called the muscadine grape. The only place that thing was available was in Georgia. So Roger, in his infinite wisdom, he bought the entire inventory for the world. Hello, 20 years. So we have it, and then he built the equipment to make this stuff. What they discovered is that it released another chromosome, which actually went to the DNA and shielded DNA and repaired damaged DNA. Now, I don't know how this works, but I had a fella that was a captain in the National Guard. He had cluster headaches. The government spent $100,000 over a 9-year period trying to help him with cluster headaches. Nothing happened. Okay. We got this stuff and he took it. No headaches. So then we ran out. We sold it all, and we sold 6 months inventory in about 30, 60 days. And so he runs out. So he's frantic. He's looking for it. He come to my house 8 miles in about 4 minutes, and he had to have some because I just got one in that came in off back order, and I gave it to him. And it was over the weekend, and they were gone. So he bought it for the mitochondria improvement. He did a PT test, push-ups, sit-ups, and 2-mile run, and he said he had a 15% improvement. But at dinner, we were there with him and his wife, and I said, well, how's it going? And he goes, well, I don't have any headaches. And his wife looks at him and goes, what? You don't have any headaches? So that's in this wand, and people were getting results like in 5 minutes at the conference. I couldn't believe it. Now, what you're looking at is a 28 clinical study, and you can see the change in the lady's forehead and in her eyes. And I used to have these lines in my forehead that were really bad, and they're not 100% gone, but it's really made a change in my skin. And I'm going to be 79 years old in that. I used to have these are all genetic in that, but it's flattened those out. So I use that stuff every day. I mean, it's pretty cool. So we have a way of really helping people, protecting our skin, our environment, and building health in that. So imagine being able to, for less than a cup of coffee, change your life. Change another life, improve health, get people on a healthy longevity path with this simple program. And they can upgrade and they can go beyond, like Dr. Shackley said, flood the system. And I'm a consumer as many things that I can of Shackley and that. So when you learn about how great it is, you want to use it all. So, I mean, this is an amazing company to be part of, and I'm blessed to be able to share this with you. And it's helped thousands of people in our organization, and I want to pass that on. That's why we're doing this. So, Carolyn?
Marty, awesome, awesome, awesome. It isn't often, guys, that we get to have such a really powerful overview of who we all come from and really where we are. And I want to thank you, Marty, for making this available. And I'd like to also come back to what you have given to us. We have had the opportunity to talk about lots of ways that people can get started in the business and with products. And does not take away from any of those. But I find that the logic of the Heritage Plan, it's actually where many of us started. And we've refined the proteins, and we've got Life Shake, and we have all these wonderful new additions, all of which are really valuable. And I don't say but, and we're also in a time, in a global place where there are people for whom the ability to have a meal for less than $3 is really a valuable asset. And so to be able to offer someone some of the protein, a couple of vitalizers, and a pearl is something that most people could see themselves doing. Now, many of us very possibly are used to having, handfuls of things and all the vitalizer strips and all the rest of this. But when we factor in both the price and also the habits, what I love about the simplicity of the Heritage Plan is that anyone can start it. And so Marty's got a lot of great resources that he's made available, how to take advantage of doing a simple presentation like this, or maybe even shortened in terms of the background, but just offering those individual products, the power of the reason for having protein, the power of the reason for having those two little Vital E, the spark plugs, the activators that have everything in them, the importance of having that little teeny little pearl that becomes such a simple thing that if people can begin with that simple package, then the options for all the other things can open up if people choose to. So the Heritage Plan, the Heritage Package, the Heritage Bundle can be a simple way for people to begin. And what Marty, I know, is finding is that the repeat business is what's showing up. Marty, do you want to say anything more about that? And let me first say, thank everybody for coming. We're probably at time. You're welcome to leave, but if you want to stay, we've still got Marty here. So thank you. So Marty, you want to say something about what some of the experiences have been?
Well, the people who have embraced the thinking of the simplicity of the Heritage Plan and have shared it have had good success. And every time I've done this presentation, pretty much everybody comes on board and field tests the product. And that's the goal. It's unconditionally guaranteed, 30 days. And I asked them, how often do you brush your teeth? Well, every day. Why do you do that? Well, I don't want my teeth to get bad. Okay. Well, it's the same thing with nutrition. And if you do it for 30 days, let it prove it yourself. So we find that people will field test it and use it. Consequently, because it works, they tend to stick with it. So a loyalty order has become a real popular thing for people using the Heritage Plan. And what we're finding is that they're doing more research, they're trying out the products. I had one couple, they went off and they bought all the skincare, they bought all the cleaners, and now they're using it, and now they're talking to a couple other people. The fellow who started that, he just had 2 new people come on board after the presentation, just in the last day or two, and that. And I mean, it's simple, it's easy, and people get results. That's the key to it. And when they get results, one, it's easy to follow up. How you feeling today? Now, one of the things I didn't show you is that Carolyn Network Tool Chest has a nice checklist of where you can put down where you start and then check it at 30 days later. And I've given Carolyn a folder of the things on the protein, the pearl, the Vital E, and all that. It's a nice info pack, if you will. Some of you have that. And it's a nice, I like to show people that after I've given the presentation to them, or you could even use it for the presentation, and then they can go home with it. And I give it to them if they take the product. If they're going to start in the product, then, and I had one lady that was reading through that, and she had taken Shaklee for a while, but she was sporadic in her protein and that. And after reading that, she got on the protein every day. She says, I could not take it after reading that information. So to have the support tool is really a powerful thing too. So, and if you think about it, I mean, how many people do you need using the products every day in order to build something that's really special and unique in this business and that? And you can just exponentially grow this thing when people are getting results. So that helps.
I think it's terrific. Are there questions? This is our opportunity to make any comments to Marty. This is there's such a value in what you've given to us. Any questions, any comments, any experiences from anyone?
Julie raised her hand. No?
Julie. Yeah. Hey, Julie.
That was a great presentation. I actually was just throwing my hair up, but that's okay.
She was looking cute. That's what she was doing.
My hair back.
Yeah.
But no, Marty, now that I have the opportunity, that is a great, great presentation. And the Heritage Plan, the times that I have talked with people about it, has come across really easy. It was really easy to talk about. And it helps people when you say, you're helping them with their budget.
Mhm.
You're helping them figure out something that they can feel comfortable doing it after they get the results to continue doing it. It's a crazy thing when people will say, well, I don't want to start because this might really work, and then I'll have to do it every month. Crazy thinking. But I mean, I've literally heard people say that before, because I won't be able to afford that month after month after month. And so that tells you right there that that is an issue for a lot of people right now. So it's better to start small and grow later as they
Well, and
can.
the beauty of it is if you do it right, this package is less than $3 a day. So it makes it, and it's less than $100 for someone to start with. So what I get from the value of this is people are more likely to continue it because $3 a day for a super valuable, healthy meal is something that we can have that conversation about. It used to be saying, have a couple of hard-boiled eggs. Well, that one's off the table now. Being able to show people that there is a way to have a really healthy meal that's available. And so with that kind of a price point, at less than $100, if this presentation is given to someone and it's to an individual, if they include their spouse, that's 2 cans of protein and 2 Vital E, and or 2 cans of protein and 2 pearls, because the Vital E goes for both of them. That comes up to the $150. They can get their membership. They can get their shipping for free. So you can do that as a package like that has the value to it, that are things that can give people the opportunity to want to continue with the products. So
Yeah. If they like it and they get results and you hold enough of these presentations that you accumulate about 10 or 12 people, you're going to pay for your products. And if you take advantage of the tax advantages, that'll pay for your products. I mean, it's just, there's ways of not having to spend the money if you want. So
Yep.
opportunity. That was Dr. Shackley saying, give the people who are willing to share and teach others the opportunity to have the American dream. Part of that is free's good.
Yeah. So if there are no other questions, and this is a good opportunity, if anybody's got a question for Marty, and if not, those of us who are still on the screen or still here, how about a big congratulations and thank you to Marty for really pioneering this kind of thinking and to giving us an additional option of getting people started with a basic, simple program that is the classic program. One of the things it's done for me is I've gone back to, I kind of forgot instant protein. The energizing soy. And I've actually gone back to the instant protein, which is the one that has no flavor. And that's probably the most potent of the proteins. And you put it in pineapple juice or whatever, it tastes great. And it's, in terms of cost, it's less. You get lots of power from it. You can add whatever you want to. But it's reconnected me with some of the basic, simple programs that we have all been used to. And I think that in challenging times when there are people that don't want to say, gosh, I don't know if I can afford this again, we give them an option that really can fit into their budget. But still get them the value.
Anybody ever have someone say, what does it taste like? Anybody experience that?
Go for it.
Yeah. I always tell them it makes you smarter and better looking.
Ha! Great job, Dr. Frederick.
That's great. That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Marty, for the gift of your time, your thinking. We will have this package of things available, and the recording of this will be available on opastuff.org, and Scott will put it all together for us, and we'll have the package of things to hand out. So, Alan, I see you there? Was that a hands up or anything that was a, hey, good job? Okay. Thank you, Master Coordinator Alan and Hannah Sherpin. So thanks, you guys. Master Coordinators Ray and Barb Madoran, I see, and thanks, you guys. And Marty, thanks again for the gift of your time and everything you've put together for us. We're very, very appreciative. Thank you. And
Good
thanks,
job, buddy.
Scott
Good
Aldrin,
job.
for doing it.
Terrific call. Good job, Marty and Carolyn.
Yep.
Thank
Great.
you. Great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, everybody. God bless.
Marty.
Bye-bye.